Hey, it's Chris here today from Huckabones Equipment. In today's video, as you see behind me, we're going to be talking about a U35. What makes this video a little bit different than normal, it's my personal U35, so it's a 50-hour review on it. So it's got 56 hours on that meter. Today's video, we're going to go over what the pros and cons of it. We're actually going to take it out and use it. We got a beaver dam to tear apart, so let's jump right to it and start talking about it. Okay, so starting off is why do I have a U35? I have a choice of machines, big and small. I'm on 100 acres here. I also don't get to use them as machines very often. Again, out of these 50 hours, realistically, I have about 20 hours on it myself in that seat. I also share this machine with my father, and another gentleman does quite a bit of work for me, cleaning up some trails and making a park, basically. So these guys get to use it as well, and we get to put some hours on it. The reason I like and selected the U35 is the U-Series lets me spin around. I will be the first to tell you I'm not an operator, I'm just a guy who gets to use these machines. And you'll see that whenever I use these things in action is I'm a little bit sloppy, and do not compare myself to somebody who has thousands of hours on an excavator. What this lets me do is not have scratch marks on the back. Again, with the KX lineup, if you're not too good, you'll be knocking yourself off of stuff, rubbing up against trees or any other obstacle. With the U, basically I'm able to spin on top of my track. So if I can get my machine in there, I'm pretty safe. I don't have to worry too much about rubbing things. So after that is the reason I don't really see much of a drawback to a U-Series for myself is if you're digging over the blade, it's going to be very comparable to a KX33. It's going to be very strong, and it's going to do everything I want. Whenever you go over the tracks, yes, the digging force drops drastically because it doesn't have that rear counterweight as a KX lineup will. So it is a huge drawback for a lot of people. For myself, for how it is utilized, not a drawback. Again, if it is in a tight area where I'm going over the side, and that's what we're going to be doing today, I'm not usually lifting heavy material. If I am, I'm not prying with it. I understand that it's going to be a drawback, so I can adjust and work with it. So, and again, why did I have a 3.5 ton? It's because I can transport it. Again, if I get any bigger, you got to have special licenses. Yes, I have access to drivers and stuff to move it around, but it is nice to be able to move it yourself, fully licensed. So that is why this U35 was selected. So now let's jump out to the front and talk about the Rivard buckets and the pros and cons of it. All right, so we moved around to the front here. Again, it looks like an excavator, right? Well, you'll see a little bit different as I have the Rivard system on here. So it is a hydraulic disconnect system along with the Rivard thumb and Rivard buckets. So I do have a selection of buckets for it. I think I have 4 in total between a frost ripper, root rake, and then 2 different size buckets. The thumb is great. Again, whenever you compare it to the standard Kubota one, it is not as wide, which is great, and it works specifically with their own buckets to fit in between the teeth there, get you that great grabbing, and lets you fully close. Sometimes if your mitts match buckets and thumbs, you can run into where it's tooth on tooth kind of idea and not fully closed or lots of rubbing. So it is great that way. When everything's paired up properly, it works properly. So again, as I mentioned, it is hydraulic disconnect on there. I'm a poor person to ask in the review of that. I've used it exactly 4 times. And again, this is over 18 months, so I struggle with doing it, even though it is only a flick of a button kind of idea, and it is easier to use. I don't use it enough to really give you a full review on that, but it does work great because I don't have to have tools in that cab. I just run a couple buttons. Disconnecting and switching between buckets it's a snap, basically. The reason I struggle, just don't do it enough. You learn from your experiences, right? So I have a 24-inch bucket on here. You come talk to me in the office about purchasing one, I will tell you, you do not want a 24-inch bucket on the front of a U35, KX33, or anything of that nature. Reason for that, it is too big for the front of this. Again, you get full material in there, or trying to pry with it, you're going to run into where it's just too heavy. So you just have to be mindful of that. Again, another thing that Rivard learned from this bucket being too big, you will see a nice big gouge in the front of this guard here. I did that about 10-15 minutes into owning this unit. First dig I did with it, scratched that whole thing up because this bucket shouldn't be able to reach that, but it does. if you talk to Rivard, they no longer offer that bucket with the U35 or KX33. So everybody learn. Okay, so we move around to the cab area here. I've been asked before, whenever you're doing demonstrations and talking with people out in the yard, will I find that cab small? You know, I'm looking at between this and a KX040. KX040 has a little bit more room. And the answer is, if you find it small to start, you're gonna find it small, whether it's 50 hours, 200, 2000. It's what you're gonna run into. For myself, not a big guy, it's a perfect size. It is exactly what I knew going into it, what it was going to be, and exactly still is. Comfort-wise, they do everything correctly, but it is a smaller cab than what you're going to see on the KX040. The biggest drawback I have is, and you can blame my father for this, is he left this unit out in a soybean field for a few months, and the mice got into it. So I don't recommend doing that. Keep the mice out of it. You'll enjoy the cab smell and the new Excavator smell a lot longer than I got to enjoy it. So now let's jump out to actually using this unit.
Scoop, you took the whole thing out and what was left went through.
Nice. What do you want, dog? She's moving good now. That brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my review of 50 hours on a U35, as well as seeing it in action. You know, it's kind of fun getting to use these machines for what they're supposed to be used for. So it's always fun digging in the ground and or taking out a beaver dam so that you know, some water can flow through my culvert again. So if you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe. If you have any comments, please down below. Thank you.